Okay, recording this video on Wednesday, the 18th of August 2021. Do hope you are doing well. So, if I sound like I have a little bit of a cold, that's because I am getting over a cold. I think it was COVID, but my wife's rolling her eyes at me. It certainly felt like COVID, but anyway, we got tested and it came back negative. So what can you do? And we got jabbed a month ago before we travelled. So I don't know. It's been a lousy 4 or 5 days, but anyway, kind of over it. So what do you know? Back onto the videos, having taken a break for two or 3 weeks now. Always when we're travelling, life just gets way too hectic. We came by Maui, saw some friends, were there for a week, and then we're back in France. Doing the international travel thing, but there's not many people doing what we're doing, I have to tell you. A lot of domestic travel happening when we flew through the States, but coming out of the States to go to France, the plane was maybe a third full, something like that, so not much kind of international travel going on. People are always a little bit interested in kind of observations and things that we see around the world when we kind of arrive, so I'll just give you a couple of observations about those kind of quickly before getting on to the charts. Just a little picture of this is where we're at. This is the town we're at. It's called Sarlat, Le Canada, I think it is. And it's absolutely gorgeous. It's one of the most historic, kind of well-preserved historic towns in France. And we're actually staying in a place that, quite frankly, is like out of Game of Thrones. It's beautiful. Cathedral ceilings, half timber kind of ceilings, massive fireplaces, beautifully renovated, really kind of beautiful. And this is where it is. It's in Dordogne here. This is the Dordogne River, and that's where Sarlat, Le Canada is. And we flew into Paris, kind of stopped at a couple of places, kind of going south. We're here for a couple of weeks before we head across to the coast. And the reason for that is the coast in August in France is mad with people, and it's a little less busy. It's still busy, but a little less busy kind of in the interior. So that was what where we're at, what we're doing. One of the interesting things was, traveling, had to be vaccinated. It wasn't too much of a drama, kind of getting the paperwork together to get into France. France, very bureaucratic, but they kind of, I don't know, they check thoroughly, but they're always very polite about it, so it never seems like it's a big deal. So you just kind of get through customs fairly quickly, and there were so few international flights kind of coming through. That was kind of a bonus kind of there, because there was that much more paperwork required to get into France this year compared to last year. And then the big thing that we were worried about was what's called the pass sanitaire here, which is the vaccine passport. So in France, you may be aware, they were the first country to basically, with Macron came in heavy-handed about a month ago and said everybody needs to be vaccinated, and the way we're going to do that is we're going to not allow people who are unvaccinated to come into restaurants, bars, shopping malls and supermarkets, and of course all sporting events or entertainment events or anything like that. There's been a huge outcry in France since then. It's been in about a week or so. There've been demonstrations, peaceful demonstrations, incredibly, throughout France for the entire time, particularly on the weekends, the Saturdays and Sundays. There's been kind of very big kind of demonstrations. But in the smaller towns where we come through, I haven't seen anything like that. And I would say during the first week, a lot of the restaurants and bars that we went to, there was about an 80% compliance, people saying, yep, you have to show me your pass. And we were using the CDC passes, and they kind of seemed to accept that, although they'd never seen them before. The electronic pass is a QR code in France, and so they were kind of keeping up appearances and checking those things. About 20% of places weren't, and people were saying, well, I'm not the gendarme, I'm not the police, I'm not going to be turning customers away. But now, after a week, kind of get the sense that it's kind of just dropping off. It's like people are saying, too busy. It's like there's too much going on to be checking the pass sanitaire. So we'll see in practice how it works out. It could be that there's a lot of kind of non-compliance that goes on, and eventually the thing will just kind of die a death. France is the first country to introduce that and kind of get it going. All the other countries in Europe are kind of following along. I'm afraid America looks like it's going to be following along, but I don't know how they can do that. It'll be a state-based thing rather than a federal-based thing, I would have thought. But anyway, it's interesting to see at the moment. So that's kind of comments on where we're at and what we're doing. And this video might sound a little bit different because I've got a new microphone. Decided to ditch the expensive Sennheiser and go for the ultra cheap Logitech. Just because every time we travel I seem to step on my Sennheisers and ruin the mic or do something dreadful to them. And so taking a different approach now for a few months and just see if I can work with kind of cheaper microphones. So let's get to some charts, tell you about what I see kind of going on. The overall message, I think, by looking at a couple of these charts is, yeah, we've got some weakness definitely happening in the markets, and we're starting to roll over, but we're still in August, and nothing really big, I don't think, is going to happen until September. Although this news out of Afghanistan, I mean, has definitely shown that the US is not as strong internationally as it should be. It's shown to China and Russia that the US is stumbling, and that's a shame, but it could be, part of this rolling over process that we're likely to see. So it's a good trading the last couple of days. Hope you got on to some of this weakness that we had. I'll show you some of the Forex charts first because they show where the weakness is kind of coming in, and we've got all of that happening in, like the euro has been rolling over the last several days, just been going down and down. The last signal that we had, blue professional bars into 118, taking profits, getting short, bang, we drop off cliff. We need to see an exhaustion sell pattern. This one was getting the move going here, and that bearish divergence then relates to this exhaustion sell. We need to see another one, so we're sit at 117. I think we're going to be heading down on the euro. The same thing for Aussie dollar. I was short Aussie dollar on Monday into Tuesday's activity, made good money on that, although it's been a rough ride. I've talked about the Aussie dollar. I've had 2 good trades and I think 3 or 4 poor trades in the Aussie dollar in the last kind of several months, because it's been kind of junky kind of movements here. But you can see this kind of fall off over the last several days was set up from exhaustion buy, bearish divergence, blue professional bars at the highs. We come into cyclical resistance, topping out kind of activity with the grey background, and we get a nice signal kind of to go short here. So it took a while to kind of break out of here, but as soon as these little moves up, again, blue professional bars at that high, as soon as the low of that blue professional bars gets broken, that shows that they were selling into that strength and getting short there. So we kind of moved down. Again, no exhaustion sell down. I got out of this at 72.50, kind of down here yesterday. Haven't been short into this on Monday, so I forget my entry point, but it was around here. And so that was a nice trade, but I don't think it's done on the downside. Just didn't want to sit through any kind of profit taking and retrace, and so that's what we've got. So it might be an opportunity for a re-entry on the Aussie dollar. British pound, same thing, kind of been weak, rolled over here. Blue professional bars at the highs here and here. You can see there and there. And all of these showing a similar pattern. No exhaustion yet on the downside. No blue professional bars coming in on the lows. It's the reverse. We've been setting up for this. We've been going through some junky kind of activity, and now we're starting to stretch our legs and kind of get out into this trend a little bit. And then Canadian dollar, Aussie dollar, kind of fairly similar patterns in terms of trading together and so on. So blue professional bars at the lows, we broke through those. We're into a downtrend here. We'd had exhaustion sell at this point and bullish divergence, but it's not enough to end this move. Again, no exhaustion sell, no blue professional bars kind of coming here and so on. So all of those currencies just show that the US dollar is strong, and all of these kind of risk-on currencies are weak at the moment. And then the other kind of things that we can see starting to strengthen is the bonds. So we've got the 10-year bonds kind of here, set up with blue professional bars. No exhaustion sell at this point, so we didn't get a triple kind of set up at this point, but we had cyclically, we were oversold, we've broken above the blue professional bars. We kind of got strength here with red bars kind of going on. So we're in an uptrend in bonds. That's the same with the 30 years, the 10 years, and so on. And gold and silver. So gold perked up over the last couple of days into exhaustion sell, bullish divergence, and cyclically oversold, and then we broke above blue professional bars, so that's where we got our signal at this point here. It would have been nice if there were blue professional bars that kind of came in on this lows, the kind of flash crash in gold and silver, but it didn't happen. Not on this chart, at least. If you go down a kind of time frame, you'd see them kind of coming in. So that's why the signal's a little bit late, but it does show that gold, having pressed into 1700, spooked a lot of people out with the exhaustion sell. It's kind of turned the corner there. Prior to traveling, I had a nice trade into silver. I was short silver at this point here, where we had this nice little signal, whole bunch of blue professional bars selling down, and then got into this short at this point here. So I was short here and out just above 24. Before the flash crash, but I was on a plane, so my kind of rule of thumb on planes is, or when traveling, is just be flat. Don't have any positions on. You don't want to be checking the markets when you're up at 40,000 feet or whatever. Crude and copper though. So crude for me seems like it's kind of lining up to possibly kind of have a little bit of a bounce here. We've had a couple of triple signals go on here, just one blue professional bar kind of down here. We've tested, we bounced off our trailing stop on better pro-am, so all we need is for crude to kind of break into an uptrend with the bars kind of to turn red, and they look like they're kind of ready to do that. We've had a couple of false little moves here, but we could do that with kind of crude. So crude potentially can have a little bit of a bounce, which would be interesting, but copper is not looking strong at all. It's looking fairly weak. We're kind of crashing down at this point here. No kind of decent signals that we've had over the last few days. This was a nice one into this kind of rally, but we didn't really get anything on the downside because we didn't have exhaustion buy at that point. So they're kind of not confirming for me. I've not got any positions on at the moment to take profits on my short equities and short Aussie yesterday. Kind of waiting and seeing what's kind of happening at the moment. Show you some other kind of equities charts because they have a little bit of a pattern to them. You can see the Nasdaq and the Emini and the Dow, they're all looking kind of similarly strong. You can see here with red bars making new highs and so on. So that's the Dow. We've got the Nasdaq again, red bars finding a little bit of trouble up here, but red bars kind of looking for kind of new highs, and the Emini here, a little bit of weakness with yesterday's activity, but still it's not a double top, it's not a a right shoulder or anything like that kind of going on. So those are looking still strong. But the place where you'd start to see the weakness first is in the Russell and in the emerging markets. And I'll show you the Russell first because that has been weakening since April. Since we've seen all these moves in the Forex markets and the strength in the US dollar. So the US dollar strength has started to emerge in April. And you can see here with the Russell we had blue professional bars at the highs, could not get through there, so this is an area that I look at. It's called the killing fields. So this whole area, once the blue professional bars have forced us up into here, if we break this 2078 level on the way down, that's a whole area where they've just been, the professionals have been getting short. We've got a little bit of strength at the moment with red bars, but all we need is that to turn into a downtrend with white bars and breaking through this level at 2000, and all of a sudden the Russell has changed its tune entirely. And then the place where we've seen the weakness first is in emerging markets. So this is EEM, which, I mean, a large portion of this is China, and we've had China been the weakest of the emerging markets. But you can see here we turned into a downtrend. We had exhaustion buy, bearish divergence, downtrend here, cyclically overbought, beg your pardon, and then a triple signal here, and we're just kind of crashing down. So I don't know. I mean, I see the weakness in all of these charts, but I just think it's still a little bit too early in terms of getting the whole market to kind of move as one and start to really kind of sell off. I think September is going to be a great month for trading, but I'm just kind of wary in August that some of the big trending moves. Yesterday it would have been nice yesterday if it had turned into like a 50, 60. 70 point move on the way down, but it just didn't have that feel about it. It kind of, I think we did 44 points on the way down yesterday. I have to kind of check my charts, but it didn't have that real panic about it. And so I think we're just going to pitch backwards and forwards a little bit until everybody's back at their desks, and all of a sudden the asset allocators have said, nah, that's it, we're out, and everything kind of turns. So we'll see. There's still good trading opportunities, but starting to see some weakness in all those charts kind of come together. So there we go. You'll be seeing more videos from me on a more regular basis. Now we've got the feet under the desk in France. So hope you're doing well. Hope your trading is going well. Yeah, looking forward to the rest of the week's trade.